Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of Fact Sheet live on ETV, live on Nisin 95.9 and 100.1 in Bogatanga and Tamale. Also live on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Our handle is ETV Ghana. Tonight, we are all focusing our attention on the Ghanaian economy, most especially the performance of the cedi. This morning, before we started this conversation, checking, we realized a dollar was going for around 14.79 thereabouts on the market. That's the interbank rate I'm referencing. Before we start the conversation, I'd like to read to you something which I just came across now, which is coming from the website of the Bank of Ghana. They say that the exchange rate now is a dollar going for 13.0018. which means that there's been a reduction. And so questions are being asked that is it as a result of the president's meeting with the Forex Bureau operators and then the industry players? We'll try to make sense of all these issues tonight on Fact Sheet. My guest is Dr. Joseph Obeng, who is the president of GUTA. We all know that those most affected by this whole depreciation of the cedi are the traders. Those the accusing fingers are being pointed at are the traders, because there are people who are saying that, oh, it might not even be the case, but it's because some of the traders want to take advantage of the situation and so are increasing their prices just anyhow. That theory, does it hold or it doesn't? But how is business generally? How are they surviving? Are there situations where people have closed their shops as a result of the performance of the cedi and then the economy in general? Doc will try to make us understand these issues. Good evening, Doc, and thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to be in your office today. So, I was hoping that we'll start a conversation with a smile on your face, because we're being told that the dollar is now going for 13.014. Is that good news for you?
Yeah, it is good news indeed, if it could be sustained. And it is my wish that we do not speculate around the dollar in the negative sense again, and that it should come in the positive. That's why today, when the news came in the morning that the dollar is falling against the cedi, I was very happy. But that's how it should go. Because right now, as we are, I think the major problem have been the panic buying as a result of the negative speculation that is going on.
It's interesting, everyone keeps making the comment about speculating. Who is speculating?
All of us. The consumer, the normal citizens, the behavior of our banks. If you go to your bank and they say they don't have, then the speculation is right out there that the banks even do not have it. And so the trading community, out of fear, if it rises just a small proportion, then we are also very afraid, and we started shouting at the rooftop. And all these accumulate amount to speculation. Yeah.
Is it only speculation that is the cause of the performance of the cedi against the dollar, or any other forex for that matter?
No. The root causes are there.
What do you think they are?
Yeah, there are so many when it comes to Ghana, and that we did not do certain things right, and it has actually brought us this far. Because if you look at the demand of our forests, it's so huge. And what bring about this demand? Because if you look at our economy, it was not doing badly recently, because we were having balance of trade surplus, meaning that exports is more than import. In that case, the cedi should have been strengthened.
Yeah.
But if it is not strengthened, then there are other things that is pulling this strength down. And there's the excessive demand on the pressure on the limited forest that we have. And we've said that our investment laws will be able to contain this demand. And that's what we have been propagating all this time. That once we have liberalized trade to the extent that these huge foreign traders just come in, and when they come in, they do not bring any correspondent funds. They don't bring equity in cash where they will use this money to import the goods. They rather dump the goods and take the forest. So, as I would say, for goods for forest, the means that they not bring any correspondent fund, and that's why we are pushing that the investment laws should be amended so that any foreign trader who is allowed in will also bring in the money he's going to use to import these goods. Then we go to the juiciest part of our economy. Sometimes we talk about excessive importation. Yes, and that's one thing I've just talked about. Excessive importation. But the local share in this is just negligible, about 20%, and all of them are mostly foreigners who have the huge capacity to bring these goods, and at the same time not bringing in the cash, as I've already told you. The second being that if you look at our juiciest part of the economy, like the extractive industry, like banking, the service, communication, and all that, they have the bulk of our resources, and they repatriate all their gains without us having any retention of this repatriation that they do, because we do not have significant investment in these areas. Because when you come to banking sector, at least you can say that we have about 4 banks or so which are local banks. The remaining are all foreign based, and look at the profits that these banks turn in every year, and they send all this to their mother countries. And look at the communication. Communication is also taking a chunk from us. Communication is something that is like a oil. It's even more than oil. And so if you look at the service industry alone, how much money they are also repatriating outside is something that you cannot put this thing to it. And so these are some of the things. And then you come to the cross-border trading activities and cross-border trading money. The banks in our sub-region, you know, those banks that operate in the sub-region, their networks such that when you put the money in one country, you can go to another country where there is the same bank and take your money. And so when a country is affected with this forest, and then they know that maybe Ghana has the forest and at a good price, they all come here and buy you. They come and buy this money, and as if they are buying commodities, transfer them on in whole, and then take them across the borders to their home countries. And so we have to be able to monitor all these things. I've said that there's a cartel being built around the currency or the forest trading, in that if you get up in the morning and go to the market and you want to buy the dollar, they will say that the rate is not ready. Maybe it will be ready around 10. Who brings up this rate? That's where we have to find out. Means that there's a cartel who sits and then announce the rate around 10 o'clock. And so it's a whole cartel, and these people also trade across the borders, trade with their, look at the background of these people. They are mostly not Ghanaians. They are everywhere. So these are some of the few things that I would say that push.
Have you been happy with how the Bank of Ghana has been managing this whole situation about the performance of the city? Have you been happy about it?
Oh, Bank of Ghana, no, I would say, especially in relation to the interest rate and all that. Because how they are managing the interest rate and all that is not good, in the sense that the interest rate as we are suffering now is due to the inflation as we are suffering now is due to the cost push because of accumulation of cost. It's not the vice versa that there's excessive supply of money chasing a fewer goods as normally the economists will say. And once they go ahead and announce new monetary policy rate being increased by the day. This year alone, they've done it 4 times, and then it's still not helping solve the problem of inflation, because in that case they are using the wrong methodology to solve the inflation. So,
Interesting. Would you say they have been proactive enough in trying to solve this particular problem, which is affecting you, the businessman?
No, for Bank of Ghana, there are so many things that they could even do under the circumstance. Because I was even expecting that they bring new rules or measures to stop people from saving in the foreign currency. You can even bring a rule, regulation to stop people, to discourage people from saving in dollar, because these dollars, when they buy it and put it in the bank, that's different. You may think that is going to the bank, but then it's putting pressure on the dollar outside. And so that alone, Bank of Ghana could have brought a directive that if you save at this time in dollars, we will give you when you are coming to take the money in cedis. That alone, that pronouncement alone, will discourage people from taking the money. And most people cannot save this money at home. They cannot buy this money and put it at home. So if they have looked at these small things and all that, they would have been able to contain the situation.
There's always been this argument as to why traders prefer to trade in the dollar, seeing that a lot of the business transactions you do are from the Asian side of the world. You're dealing with China and co. Why don't you rather think about trading in the yuan, seeing that its rate is not as bad as that of the American dollar or the British pound?
You know that Guta has been proposing that in all our recommendations, we've been talking about the alternative currency so that to ease the pressure on the dollar. So we've been doing that. But you see, the recommendation that we took to the presidency just last week were about 14 different recommendations. The only thing that he first ranked and said no to it is incidentally this question that you're talking about.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Why did he say no?
Yeah,
what did he say?
He thought that the dollar had become too strong against all major currencies, and at this time, he doesn't think even the trading in the yuan will solve the problem, because the Chinese are also facing similar problems. And so, where he is sitting, you may have information that we do not have, because maybe Bank of Ghana will. But Bank of Ghana, when I talked to some of the officials, they said that at a point they also tried to introduce this, but we didn't patronize it. That it means that it's doable.
Yeah.
That they have tried and we didn't patronize. But I also told them it was not well communicated to us, because for me, I did not even hear that, and I do a lot of trading in China, and so it is doable, and we can discuss it. But maybe for now, where this thing I assume global, it's a global phenomenon. The high rate of the dollar, the strength of the dollar growing, and all that. So maybe at the appropriate time we can revisit that issue. But from what I heard from the presidency, maybe it's no for now.
Let's talk about the management of the economy, because the last time we had a conversation, we were talking about whether the finance minister must go or must not go, considering that majority of the members of parliament from the government side had indicated and actually threatened the president that he should sack the finance minister. This morning, the party has issued a statement to the effect that the president has agreed with them that the finance minister must be allowed to complete the IMF negotiation and to prepare the budget as well, and to ensure that the appropriation for the budget is being done. When I spoke to you that evening, you made the point that across the world, where we say that if the crisis is affecting every and anybody, if Lestrans has gone, if Kwesi Kwarteng has gone, then Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta must go. Hearing this information that he is staying, how do you feel?
Yeah, I do not know how to appoint a minister. I do not know what entails in appointing an official in government. But what I know is what affects my business. And so, for instance, what is affecting us now, and we are talking about, that's for us the measure of quality of governance, or what, in effect, that's what might infer whether somebody is doing well or not. But to say categorically that somebody should be removed or otherwise, I cannot say that. But if it's coming from parliamentarians, and then especially when it is from the ruling government side, then of course they know how to do this vetting. They did the vettings and all that, so they know what is involved when there's a problem with a particular minister.
But you have already mentioned that you know how these decisions affect you as businessmen. And so as a businessman, would you say Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta has managed the economy better for you as a businessman?
We just closed our shops because there was a problem. And so we have a problem where our businesses are collapsing. Interest rate is going up abnormally. The exchange rate is taking all our resources. Our businesses are collapsing. Inflation is so high, our customers cannot buy goods. And if it is the management of the Ministry of Finance, then of course you can make your own inferences. But I think for businesses, especially when we close our shops, then if it is a vote, then it is so clear. But my problem is not to divert into
The
politics
of it.
and all that. But then we articulate our problem, and then you see we wanted to provoke national discourse around the problem that we are facing. You see what has happened just a few days after closure of our shops. That has even pushed the parliamentarians in doing all these things and all that. That's the most beautiful thing, and that's one of the main achievements that we've gained from the closure of shops. Now we are discussing it, and seriously, people are not joking about it. And to have been able to provoke that discourse alone is very important for us. Whatever comes after it, that will help us solve the problem. We are for it.
It's interesting that under Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, I remember one of the budgets that were read, certain waivers that you were enjoying as businessmen. He said that you would have to come to him personally, his ministry, for him to approve before these waivers were given, because he realized that there were loopholes in the system. Under his watch, benchmark value, which was 50, went to 30. For the vehicle dealers, that which was 30 became 10. Just recently, we were told that per engagements that the GRA and Co has had with your outfit, they are concluding that some adjustments would have to be made with the benchmark values. These adjustments, how do they help your businesses?
Yeah, ironically, they will do everything to increase the prices in the market, and then they come around and say that there is the business people who are doing this. It's very unfortunate, because you can't increase the benchmark values and expect that prices remain the same. You do not manage the exchange rate to the extent that prices, our capitals are eroding, and then people will not necessarily benchmark their prices with the a flying dollar. No, we have to benchmark our price if we want to remain in business. And these are the things that push the prices in the market, and that's what we have to look at, rather than pointing fingers on the innocent trader. We are not taking any advantage. So actions like that is no good. But for the benchmark itself, it did came under the honorable minister's time. We are petitioning Council of State through the presidency, and then they offered it to us. And under his own time too, we did the revision to 30% and 10 that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So that one I don't know how to balance it. But what I would say is that if we keep on increasing the benchmark values, then it will trigger the agitation that came before for them to even reduce it to 50%. Then no work is done. So they should not even use the benchmark value as a system of valuation, because it's not known in the valuation methods at WTO. It's not known at all. We have to use the transactional values. And that's what we are expecting.
Do you get the sense the managers of the economy really sincerely understand the impact of all these on your businesses? Do you think they really understand?
Sometimes I doubt. Because especially when they again come and say that prices have gone up in the market. But you don't know that there's some of the policies that you do. If you increase duty, definitely it will transfer to the consuming public. If you see, we've been complaining that government should peg the dollar for the purposes of duty payment, because it cannot go on with the flying dollar.
Yeah.
We said that, and they gave it the assurance. And as I'm speaking, they are still increasing the dollar rate for the purposes of duty payment.
After that assurance has
yes,
been given?
after that assurance, just a few days that Kumasi, our affiliate in Kumasi have demonstrated, they gave us this assurance, and it has not seen any fruition.
Interesting. Now, let's go back a bit. This CD's performance just between yesterday and today, where it was around 15, came to 14, and now, per the announcement that came from the website of the Bank of Ghana, it's around, let's say, 14 point something. What do we attribute it to? Earlier, you made a point about speculation. But I'm thinking, could it be as a result of the actions of the members of parliament, and that there is some hope that the finance minister would be removed, and so as a result of that, the dollar's performance against the city is behaving the way it is behaving? It's all, just speculations as we are saying, but could that have been a factor?
Yeah, so you see the power of speculation, because we are talking about a day difference. So it can be said that they pumped some money and at once it's reflected in the rate. So speculation is very powerful. So that's why we said that all that government should do, or Bank of Ghana should do, is to whip up inspiration. We have to give up a hope in the economy, inspire hope into the economy, so that by that necessarily, because the silence is so loud that the presidency should even articulate its policy directions, spelling out times, so that we know that at this time the dollar, something is going to happen, and that we will expect that the exchange rate will be stabilized around this time and all that. When you give the timelines and then the whatever policy direction that will inspire people that there's something going to be done, then it will direct this speculation to a positive direction. But as it were now, any trigger directed to either negative or positive. For now, it's going on the negative way. But for the just after meeting the Forest Bureau people and all that, with maybe the assurances that have been given to them about some money coming, because they are in the trade of the forest. And so that might have triggered the downward trend of the dollar. Definitely.
Interesting. We hear about how businesses are collapsing. We've been hearing about it. How real is that? Is it real?
Yeah, it's true. People's capitals have been eroded, and it's very fast, this erosion that we're talking about. Well, I'll give you the illustration, because when we say it just like that, people do not understand. And that's why I do the illustration with some figure. We started the year with 6.2 Ghana cedis per $1. And so at that time, if your capital is 620,000 Ghana cedis, you were able to buy $100,000. As I'm speaking now, if the dollar is even $14, or say shouldn't make it 13.
Yeah.
But normally I don't want to say the higher one to fuel speculation. I want it. My dream is for it to come down. So normally I want to come the lower one. So when somebody hear it, he can also drive it home. So if it is 13, then of course you could have you are split into definitely you are not able to buy the same 100,000 that the 620,000 could buy. This time you can buy only $47,000 dollars. So $53,000 have been spirited away from your capital. You did not do any bad thing, but because of bad economic situation that you find yourself in, your capital has been spirited. If this capital is a borrowed one, then the interest rate that have gone beyond 35% is also taking a whole chunk. Because per annum you have to pay about 35%, which is also for the 620,000 illustration I'm making, means that you will pay about 240,000 only for the interest.
So not the principal.
Take it from the principal, your loan amount, and then you are left with nothing.
Well, you're still watching us live on ETV, live on NISIM 95.9, and we're having a conversation with Dr. Joseph Obeng. We're talking about the impact of especially the performance of the city on their businesses, and he tells us that it's real that businesses are collapsing. We are taking a short breather. When we come back, we would like to find out from him, as businessmen, how do they feel about this whole IMF conversation, seeing IMF policies generally bring about austerity measures. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Fact Sheet Live on ETV Live on NISIM 95.9 and 100.1 in Bogatanga, Tamale, respectively. Also live on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are talking to a big man, Dr. Joseph Obeng, who is the president for GUTA. Doc, the allegation on the lips of many Ghanaians is that this whole rise in the prices of goods on the market is as a result of the creation of you, the businessman. You are taking advantage of the system because you think, oh, the government says Ukraine, Russia, COVID-19, so let's take advantage of it. You guys are taking advantage of Ghanaians.
No, it is not true, and it can never be true. We think about our customers. This business that we do it with our customers, and we cannot punish them. We cannot overly surcharge them. It is never true. As a matter of fact, when there's inflation, it eats into the pocket of this customer that we're talking about, the consumer, to the extent that the purchasing power is reduced to the barest level, as it is now in Ghana. At this point, he's unable to buy as much quantity that you used to buy with the same money, the same amount of money. You will struggle. First, if you used to buy 10 pieces of an item, now you will struggle to buy 4 with the same amount of money. What it means is that it curtails your turnover. And this business that we are doing thrives on turnover. So if your turnover reduces, it means that you are unable to service your debt. And I've told you that interest rate is also very high there. And then if you are not able to pay service to them, then they will come and confiscate your goods and all
Let
that.
me put it to you,
Yeah,
as businessmen, you're doing preemptive trading,
yeah,
where you are forecasting on your own before you make the purchase that the rate at which the dollar is going. If I sell my goods for, let's say, 5 cedis, by the time I go and I look for the dollar, it's going to be, let's say, around 6 cedis. And so I need to peg the price around 8 to 7 cedis. Meanwhile, the dollar might not be at that 6 to 7 cedis that you are preempting it might get to. This is what is driving the prices on the market. Not so.
no. Any prudent businessman do forecasting, but at the same time, no prudent businessman can overprice himself out of the competition, because the competition is such that, you see, we have the bigger. I was talking about these foreign big traders who have come in, and you cannot just overprice yourself out, because they have cheaper prices and all that. So it's not true because of competition. But what is true is that you have to apply wisdom to your trading, and then this kind of forecast is also very important, because if you do not benchmark your price with the real forest or the rate of forest, then of course you will sell at the old price. Maybe if you have thousand pieces of that product, and you've sold at the old price, when you go and buy again to replenish, you can only be able to buy about 500 pieces, because you did not apply tact and wisdom to business. Because you should have known that you go and buy again to replenish, and then the rate have gone up. And so those people who do not do that, probably for lack of knowledge and all that, will say that I didn't know what I've done with my money, I didn't even do any bad thing, and my money has been spirited away. And these are some of the reasons. And so it is always prudent that any businessman benchmark with the prevailing rate. And that's what I was even telling my people when this thing has become so scary, that you do not just sleep over your old price. Benchmark your prices with the new rates, so that you become relevant in business. Otherwise, you collapse.
You mentioned cartel, and I'm linking the cartel back to you about the actions of traders causing the city to perform the way it's performing. If I sell this, and we all at, let's say, this area, and my competitor finds out that I'm selling this for 14 cedis, he is selling it at 20 cedis, and he's seen 2 people already walk into my shop and still buy at 14 cedis, and he is selling it at 12 cedis. That competitor would have no option than to also sell at 14 cedis. After all, at 14 cedis, people are buying. And so then your argument about, driving yourself out of business because of competition really is not acceptable if the product we are talking about is a necessity, is an essential ware or goods.
No. But I'll forgive you because you do not understand how the business operates. You see, let's also not take the customer for a ride, because the customer is also very intelligent. The customer goes through the market, about 1,000 people in the market selling the same product. He combed the market and found the best price and buy. It's not that the consumer is like a robot, and that you can overprice yourself and they also patronize. It doesn't operate like that, because the trade is liberalized. Some people might decide to deliberately increase their price, but others are so wise that if I do that, I will lose customers, and I will not do that. So those people will also sell at cheaper price. Not that we communicate in the market and talk to ourselves that let's sell our price at this rate, like you said, cartel.
Is that an impossibility?
No. The competition out there, they hate among themselves. Hate included because of everybody seeking to have more customers will not allow people to do that. And sometimes people find it even difficult to raise their price, because they know that if I do that, I will lose all my customers. So you look on powers the capital just go off because for fear of losing customers. So it's not that easy. We have traders in our homes. If it is that easy that we overprice ourselves, almost everybody trading in our houses have built skyscrapers. It's not like that. Most of them, their businesses have died. Just look at your own household and see that there are so many traders and see how they are coping in life. If it is that easy that we just overprice and customers buy, then we would have been very rich. Then we wouldn't have gotten problem with our banks confiscating our properties and all that. It's not true. It's not. It's simply not. Because when prices go up, it rather affects our ability to turn over our product to service our suppliers and then our outside and then our bankers locally.
You said you met with the president. Did you raise any concerns about the U-turn the government made on the issue of going to the IMF? Did you raise any concerns about it, or do you have any concerns about it?
Our concern was the plight that we are facing, our the foreign exchange, and then the interest rate and the inflation, and that's the issue that we discussed with the presidency, that something must be done. But he did mention IMF, so it means that the IMF is very important for the economy as we are speaking. Because we gave our recommendation and all that and said that we are talking to the IMF and that your recommendation will be given to economic management team so that we factor it in the discussion and all that. So at this point, I think everything is rallied around the IMF discussion for the future of this economy.
We know the first thing the IMF is going to try to tackle will be that of the inflation in the country. And if you listen to the IMF, top executives, their focus would always be on the monetary policy rate, now 24.5%. The IMF would push for an increase in the monetary policy rate, though they've told the government of Ghana to be careful with how it tinkers with the monetary policy rate. If it goes up, it affects you as traders because the loans you're going to take at the banks would have higher interest components that you'd have to pay. Therefore, how are you going to insist that though the IMF is going to come into the situation or equation, you're not that much affected when it comes to the monetary policy rate?
Yeah, that's the ability of the people who are talking with IMF. They should be able to let them appreciate the level or the extent of suffering that the businesses are also having. Because after all, what they are doing is business. If they come and do things that is not going to be supportive of businesses, it means that they are not going to be able to also have their investment being paid, because it's the business community that are going to. But the problem that we have as a nation is a serious structural problem that we have. I think if we are able to do that, they might not be even be thinking about going up with the interest rate, because I've told you the interest rate is not as a result of excessive liquidity in the system. If you increase the monetary policy rate, it means that you want to mop up the excess liquidity in the system. But this one is not the result of the excess liquidity. It's as a result of accumulation of cost. And so they should be able to tell the IMF that our problem is not because of money supply in the system, but the accumulation. So it depends on how they are going to do the negotiation. But whatever thing that they are going to do, they should not do it that way that the businesses will suffer. If businesses will suffer, the work done with the IMF will be zero, because it's the private sector that drives the economy. But we have to be able to pinpoint the areas that is making the economy suffer. I've told you that we are in a deep hole. So it's not about the money, the quantum of money that is coming. It's about the pythons, the hyenas, and the vultures who are going to swallow this money that is going to be injected. And so we have to find where this excessive demand is and then seal the leakages. If we do not do that, then whatever we are doing with IMF will come back to naught. Because we have about 20 companies can just consume. This money is not even coming. If you are seeking 3 billion, it's not coming at one tranche. Maybe it will come 1 billion. No, the other time they injected 750,
Yeah.
and it was swallowed. Where did it go? Let's find out these people who have this chunk of resources. The China malls, who did not bring in anything, but they brought so much in goods, and then changing for this forest. We have to stop them. We have to be able to say that at this stage the economy is suffering, and that we have to talk to this communication giants, the banks and all that, that will freeze repatriation. We should be able to do that. Because if they have the nation at hand, we should be able to tell them and stagger their repatriations. At this stage, we should be able to communicate and then let them know that we cannot do things that we are doing. And then we should, as much as possible, revise our investment laws, where we give 100% right of repatriation. Has not helped us. But if somebody come and invest in your country and getting all the goodies and all that, the onus lies on him to also reinvest. And then, so it shouldn't be that you give him all the opportunity to take the forest and repatriate. So we can say that maybe you have the right to repatriate 60% in forest and retain the remaining 40%. If you do not have retention policies and all that, we are joking. Because the money that is going to these industries, the oil, gold, banks, the communication and all that, is so huge. It's even more than the import that we do. Our import that we do can never match up with the money that is being turned out by these service industries and then the extractive oil and all that I'm talking about. And so we have to use the investment laws to also restrict the movement of the profit.
Very brilliant point you're making. One would expect...
Because that one, it should be take it or leave it. If you do not do that, make sure that they also understand. Because you make profit, parts should be retained. It's your own money. Nobody is taking. So you use it for redevelopment. But it shouldn't be that you take it all and send it all. And that means you are not helping the nation as we expect. We overpamper the foreign direct investment. And then they take it all and leave us nothing. And so we have to think outside the box. Because the problem that we are facing now, if government, before government succeed with the IMF and then the cocoa syndication money start flowing and all that, we should have talked with these giants that I'm talking about. They are the pythons, the hyenas, and then the vultures that I was referring to. If we do not find a way to contain them and say that now the problem that we are having, if you take it again, we are out. So hasten slowly, take it slow. Let's stagger your repatriations, and then we can have we can recover, and then you can go the way you were going. They will understand. If they don't understand, it's our country. We have to make our laws to safeguard the interest of the country.
Very interesting. You talk about the hyenas and the pythons and the vultures and all. But an AGI person will be sitting down watching you and saying, your business is also making it very difficult for us to locally produce. Because when we produce and the goods or the words are competing against the cheap ones you are bringing into the country, we are not able to generate anything. And so if you're pointing accusing figures at somebody, point some on yourselves as Guta, because you are the cause of our woes when it comes to producing, exporting to earn forex.
Yeah, I agree with them. Seriously, because the way to go is to industrialize. There's no doubt about it. But we should also be identifying where we are taking our industrialization to. Where do we have the comparative advantage? Because it might not be said that we are producing goods here, and now that we have the opportunity, because importation has become very expensive. If importation has become very expensive, then this is the time for local manufacturing entities to have their way. Why are they not having their way? They are also lamenting the same way as the importers are lamenting. The other time I met with the AGI boss, I said, why don't you take advantage? Because importation have become very expensive. At least the goods are manufactured here and your goods should be more competitive and less sell. And then he said that we also have the same challenge of the foreign exchange. I said, then where is your relevance? Because there's a thin line between the importation and the manufacturing as it is structured now. The actual manufacturing that resemble manufacturing is probably the 1D, 1F that have the bulk of the input of manufacturing being local. So we have to find the areas that we have comparative advantage where we will have about 70% of origin of the input from here. In that case, if we do that and even we make those things the hub of manufacturing in Ghana, then we will get rich out of it. But as it were now, where they say they bring about 95% of the input of manufacturing also being imported, then there's a thin line between us and them. And that's why, because I thought this is the golden opportunity once importation have become very... So they have to actually know what is working against them not being attractive to the Ghanaian, rather than always accusing Guta and the cans. Because we will always want to patronize them. In the first place, we patronize all the goods that are made in the country. Because they do not have shops. We have the shops, we sell. And then bring the shop of demand. And don't we have the right to do that? The consuming public also have the right, because if students now they are talking about prices are going up. So if they have a choice in the made in Ghana goods, do they have to actually cry? Let's say. Because they will rush to the local goods. So why is it that the locally made goods are not availing themselves? That look here. Now the imported goods at the market has gone up, and why don't you come and buy our goods? Our goods are cheaper and all that. Have you seen that? So you see that there's a problem here.
Do you have confidence in the economic management team? Do you have confidence in them as traders? Do you have confidence in them?
Our problem is the exchange rate is eroding our capital. Interest rates have gone up and it's taking a chunk from our resources. Inflation is up the roof. And that's if you have to benchmark the qualities of an institution, I've said what is working against me. And so I do not know how to mark somebody, but I know how to mark
but you'd be but you'd be able to tell us whether you have confidence in them to turn things around, seeing it's the same old team that got us to where we are. Do you have confidence they can turn things around?
Why not with them? If they with a pragmatic thinking and then thinking outside the box and then doing things differently, because you cannot do the same things, because you see, when there's a problem, when there's a crisis, it is around this time of the crisis that brings the best of leadership. So at this stage, if you are not able to think outside the box to bring solution to the people, then of course you did not excel, and I cannot endorse you.
But the problem is not a today problem. The problem is not a September problem. The problem is not an August problem. The problem is a January, February problem, because the dollar started rising from the commencement of the year. And so if they could have been pragmatic, if they could have thought out of the box, we would not be here, would we?
Yeah, because we overdwelled in the global pandemic. They overdwelled in that.
You don't believe?
It bears no relevance, because COVID has become part of us, whether we like it or not. It's a new norm. We cannot. COVID is like fever and all these things that we've been having. So you cannot always say that the effects of COVID. Neither can you say the effects of Russia-Ukraine war, because there's no end in sight. So when you throw your hands in despair and then sing the lamentation, Russia-Ukraine, COVID pandemic, then it means that you've thrown the economy onto autopilot, and that you're not delivering. Because look here, the global village that we are. You say we are in a global village and all of us have a problem. But the global village, this global village that we have, our neighbors are Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, and Togo. If they are not having the same problem that we are having, then there's something fundamentally wrong with our country. Period. Because if you should use or overdwell in this global phenomenon and do not situate it in the right context, because our neighbors, look at our neighbors. If they are not suffering the same way we are suffering, if their interest rate, if their inflation is not at the same level, if their exchange rate is stabilized and all that, then we do not have business talking about global phenomena. I don't want to hear that, because we have a peculiar problem as a country, and then we should have a situation. We should dissect what the problem is and find a solution to it, rather than doing the lamentation of global phenomena.
Did you tell this to the president when you met him, that this lamentation of Russia-Ukraine war, lamentation of COVID-19 being the cause of our wars, from your perspective, it's not applicable? Did you tell us to him?
Yeah, you know that we've written our declaration. When we did our declaration at the International Conference Center, it was a whole lot, and these were all included. But when we faced him, we talked about our recommendations and our frustrations to him. We did not do the general talking and all that, but we went straight to our distance. But we made everything clear.
Do you think he feels what you feel, the president?
At least that's what he made us know, that he understands our plight. If he says that he understands our plight, then automatically he might have some feeling because of the economic indications that we have. And so that much I can say that you will know what we are going through. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that you think that the president would feel how you're feeling, because there was a report that Bloomberg did which suggested that the Ghanaian government was not showing seriousness even with its communication with the IMF to expedite the process of, the process of engaging the IMF. And so if he feels, you think that he feels what you feel, it would reflect in the speed with which even this whole IMF conversation would have been going.
I thank you. You are very intelligent. You see, that's the reason why we embarked on the closure of shops. But we didn't see any sense of urgency. We didn't see. So in what we said, that we have closed our shop based on three things. First is to communicate to the general consuming public that we are not the cause of price hikes in the system. And second, to give the government a pinch. And this one we've written. To have a sense of urgency in what is happening. And third, to communicate to the whole world that we have a serious problem in our economy, especially to our suppliers, so that because this time most people cannot pay our suppliers as quickly as we used to do, and integrity and all that. So we have done this also to communicate to them that there's something wrong in our economy, and that is why we are unable to pay so that they can reschedule our payments for us. And these are the reasons why we did this. So there's no sense of urgency, and we have not come to provoke the discourse. Most of the gains that we getting recently wouldn't have come. Even we couldn't have even provoked the MPs themselves to come out with this, because the action that we took was very serious. It indicated that businesses are dying, and that we are serious on what we are doing, and that it is not our fault that prices are going up, and we are going to benchmark our prices on the flying dollar to safeguard our business and all that. And now you see the public discourse to the extent that the members of parliament for the ruling government themselves have risen up against maybe the finance minister and all that. And so for us, it is very positive that we did what we did. And then we have been able to pronounce our frustration in a louder terms. Yeah.
We are ending the conversation, and we are ending on a very light but heavy note. Bronya yebedi.
Bronya yebedi na no kra wom ni say. On say wunya ne da. Enti Ghana for fancy etrim. Say wobenya enema de ebeba na wunya eboa na wobeto no ne wonkeka say de esen rate no si ko no. Say amompa ye na amma form te say de astati bay never conform sa boa ye ne a. Ene first awode na ye de to ye nema no akofom because ye capital no ente se kane no. The first mwe hu se bronya na de ba bu na ukọ makola popie no mu hu ne sa because ye dwadifo na ekofa ba na edwetri no aye and afin so no wo no wa ho de awoto ne ma no so akofom enti ene de awo be ya ne say ye say semra ne sesa no asesa won the first na kum kokofo a ene ukum ba ku bia na wa twitwa na sin na se fridge na yin kakra wi ono so ye bronya pro ya enti management minim say ye bedi because human spirit is stronger than this. Human spirit and spirit na nyankopon de man nipa no ya na yes challenges be ya from as human beings this one too shall pass.
This one too shall pass. It's Hope for You, live on ETV, live on Nisim 95.9 and 100.1. Doc, well, thank you for making time to speak to us this morning.
Thank you so much.
And sharing very thoughtful and insightful points with us on the show tonight. On that note, well, thank you for being a part of tonight's edition of Fact Sheet. We wish you a pleasant evening.